My dearest Cruz, if you are reading this, it means I am not with you, and for that I am deeply sorry.
National Geographic presents
You are the only one I can entrust with this difficult mission.
a book series for young readers.
Find my journal. Love, Mom.
Explorer Academy. The Academy is no ordinary school. For more than a century, it has trained aspiring adventurers to explore our world and protect its treasures. Now, adventure, danger, and a thrilling global mission await 12-year-old Cruz Coronado as he follows in his mother's footsteps at the Academy. But before he can uncover her legacy, Cruz discovers a startling conspiracy, making him the target of a mysterious organization. Why was he chosen? What really happened to his mother? Who is out to get him and why? It all leads back to Explorer Academy. Look for the Explorer Academy series wherever books are sold.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Trek on Tuesday. We've got a great show. If you are a longtime viewer, you know what's in store. And if you are a new viewer to the show, well, we want to introduce you to one of our favorite authors, Trudi Trueit. Hello, Trudi.
Hi, Gina and Aaron. Good to be here.
It's great to have you here, Trudy. We are so excited. Kind of a momentous occasion. Trudy is the author of a 7-book series called Explorer Academy, and book 7 is out right now, right, Trudy?
Right. Book 7 is out now. I'm so excited to finally get this final book out in the world. Yeah.
Yep. We had you on previewing a couple of earlier books. We're really thrilled and honored that you're coming on to promote the final and last one. We have so many questions for you, and we're going to take questions from our audience. If you guys have questions for her, Gina, I don't know where to start. You want to get us started?
I do. First off, our viewers at home really liked that trailer. ASO gave it a thumbs up. Jeremy said, wow, exciting intro. I think he might be, I'm reading between the lines that it's just a much more exciting intro than what Aaron and I usually give.
Yeah, totally, yes.
Tag 84 is in the house. Hello, Rusty. Rusty's a regular viewer. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, we've got Pack 38 and Troop 38 watching as well. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Also, I'm thinking in some of our last videos, some of you chimed in to say, hey, we're reading this series. Let us know if you're reading the series. If you have questions for Trudy, she's truly the author. So this is your chance to get your questions in. We will read those on air. It's a very exciting day for us here. I feel like we've been a small part of this journey, Trudy. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering, how does it feel now that book 7 is out there?
You know, when I started writing the series, so I started actually writing it in 2016, and the first book came out in 2018. So it's been 6 years for me from the beginning to the end of the journey. And I will confess, there were tears. I had tears in saying goodbye to Cruz and the gang, because when you write every day, as long as I do, you get really attached to the characters and the adventures that they take. And they're never far from your mind, no matter what you're doing, where you're going, drifting off to sleep. I'm always thinking about them and where can I take them next? What can they learn? Where can they go? And so when I finished the book, it was just kind of like, I miss them. And I did really miss them.
That's very, very cool. Just to be clear, everybody, it's the Explorer Academy series. It's published by our friends at National Geographic. It's a 7-book series. I would describe it as, what do you think, Trudy? It's an adventure. There's some mystery. There's some science, right?
Right. It's all of those things that, I'm a big fan of mystery and science fiction. I'm a huge Star Trek fan. It's creating a futuristic world, a little bit into the future. There's a mystery to solve. There's codes and puzzles. I love to create codes and puzzles. So yeah, it's all of those things kind of rolled in, a little romance once in a while. All those things kind of rolled up into one series. And it was really fun to be able to take the characters on a different journey. From book to book, I was always trying to think of new things that they could go, places that they could see. So they've been to all 7 continents. Oh yeah, there they are now. They're in the cave here. Practicing and trying to train, but I've been able to take them around the world, and so that's been a real joy for me to learn about different cultures and geography and all the things that the scientists do around the world, archaeologists and marine biologists. It's really fascinating to be able to talk to the explorers and get their input too, and things I can weave into the plot.
Yeah, so Trudy's talking about the National Geographic Explorer. So there's like true, real science and interwoven into these stories, which is really cool. Anne echoes that her nephew loves these books. Um, and let her know, and show your nephew this video afterwards. Have him shoot us some questions so that we can get those to Trudy. If you're looking to learn more about the series, head to exploreracademy.com. There's all kinds of fun stuff on the site, so definitely check it out. I also like you mentioned like there's codes. There's it's just like kind of like a multimedia experience the series is. And I'm curious how early, like at what point did you know where the series was going? When did you know the ending?
Oh, I knew the ending when I began. One of the things that I always plan is kind of where the books, especially a series like this, where they begin, where I want to be in the middle, at what point I want to be in the middle, and then how I want them to end. Now, I always leave it open in case I change my mind. But for the most part, when I started this, I knew where I wanted Cruz, the main character, to begin. I knew the stumbling points that I wanted him to hit along the way. He has to find his mom's formula. That's kind of the story, the big story arc, is that he's looking for pieces of a formula that his mom engraved into stone and left behind. So I would make a whole list of all the terrible things that could happen to that stone along the way that Cruz would. He would lose one, he would misplace it, one would get stolen, he would get stuck in places that he would have to give one up. So those were all the little plot points that I created along the way. So I knew exactly where I wanted that circle to end. And fortunately, that's exactly what happened. It worked out so that it did end up where I wanted it to go.
That makes people like me feel really happy who, maybe watch TV shows where the author is just not finishing the book. So the show's taking a leap and you just don't get what you're looking for. So that gives me some peace when there's an TV series about the
Yeah.
Explorer
Yeah.
Academy series.
And it helped me stay on track too. When people ask if I outline, or how detailed do I get in my outline, and I always say it's sort of like traveling. If you were going to take a trip I live in Seattle, if I were going to go from Seattle to New York, I wouldn't just get in the car and drive and hope that I would get there, because I would never get there. So what you do is you plot your points along the way. Where do you want to stop? And then give yourself an opportunity to deviate from those points along the way. And writing is the same way. You're following a trail, you're following that map, but then you're also allowing yourself to deviate along the way, because that's the fun of writing, the adventure, the excitement, the fun that comes out when you're writing day to day.
That is awesome. Very, very cool. A little bit later in the show, everybody, Trudy is going to read a super secret excerpt from her newest book. First time revealed to the public, I think, here in just another 10 or 15 minutes, guys. In case you're wondering, by the way, Christmas is coming up. Is this a good book for your kids? I think the answer is yes. Is this a good book for yourself? I think the answer is yes. The Explorer Academy series is Scout Life endorsed. We have run excerpts of it in our magazine. As a matter of fact, I want to let everybody know you can actually read an excerpt from book 7 right now. Thank you, behind the scenes, Brian, for putting that up. fiction.scoutlife.org. Trudy told us that the excerpt that she's going to read is going to be coming up. It's going to take place in the book right after the excerpt that we have online that also appeared in a printed issue of Scout Life. I can't remember which one, Gina, but it has been in Scout Life magazine. So if you're wondering, is this appropriate for my kids? What do you think, Trudy? I would say ages 6 to 99. I don't know. What do you think? What are the appropriate ages?
Yeah, I mean, that was always my goal, is to make it accessible for everyone. I'm just a big kid myself, so I want to, take kids on the adventure. So I've heard from kids, second grade and on up. I have readers that are in their 80s, which is awesome, because that's what I love to do, is I want to take you on an adventure that I would want to go on. So yeah, it's for all ages.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What I appreciate about you, Trudy, is you're such a generous author. I think you really let our viewers in on your process and your background and just how this all works. And so we appreciate that, because I know some of our viewers are potentially aspiring authors themselves. Would you mind telling us like a little bit about what this process looked like? You were writing very quickly to complete 7 books, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah. So normally in middle grade literature, we tend to put out 1 book a year. We wanted to do it a little quicker for this series. So I was writing 1 book every 6 months, which is a little bit faster than what I would normally write, what most authors would normally write. So it's really important. And I think for any writer too, to be really disciplined in how you approach your writing. So I would, write about 6 to 8 hours every day. And then of course it goes through a pretty lengthy revision process where I have several editors who take a look at the manuscript and then give me their feedback. And then I incorporate those notes. We have a proofreader, a fact checker, a copy editor. It's really actually kind of helpful to have all of those people reading my work, because they will share ideas. We will share ideas, and then you can come up with something that you really feel is a team effort. And it's a collaborative effort. I mean, you saw those illustrations there. The interiors were done by artist Scott Plum, who's been with us since the beginning, and the cover by Antonio Caparo, also been with us since the beginning. So I do really feel like it's a team effort that we all put into the series.
That's awesome. One of the aims and goals of the Boy Scouts of America, Trudy, is to occasionally kind of peel back the layers of some of these jobs, for example, writing. And I just want to bring to everybody's attention, the Reading Merit Badge does some of that. I just want to focus real quick. If you've got some Scouts BSA members in your family who haven't earned the Reading Merit Badge, now is a chance to maybe dive into that. One of the requirements, for example, of the Reading Merit Badge is identify a book you have enjoyed. I suggest maybe book 1, The Nebula Secret, unless you've already read all that one and you're ready for book 7, The Forbidden Island. Any of those would work. If you can identify a book you've enjoyed and find out other books the author has written, that will satisfy one of the requirements of the Reading Merit Badge. Another one is to read 4 different types of books, and one of those books can be fiction, which is obviously what we're talking about here. You write a review of the book, you identify what you liked and didn't like of the book, include if you would recommend it, and if so, who might enjoy reading it. We're almost kind of doing that today, wow. Gina. That's kind of the purpose of our conversation.
Trudy's working on her Reading Merit Badge.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes, we are.
Yeah.
Trudy probably has earned it. You can also give a book talk to your class, troop, or patrol. All of that stuff. Trudy can help you do all that stuff. All you got to do is go buy one of the episodes, any of her 7 books in the Explorer Academy series would help you satisfy those requirements.
I get a lot of mail from readers who are doing book reports for their classes or for their scout troops, for their badges. And so if you go onto my website, I've actually answered some questions about Explorer Academy on my biographical page there. So you can get the inside scoop, because a lot, that's really part of the reading experience too, is sharing it with others and doing those oral reports at school or for your scout troop. And so there's some additional material there for you as well.
And one of the requirements, I'm sorry, Gina, if I could just real quick, one of the other requirements, speaking of working with others, is to read a book to other people. Read a book for your classroom, your troop, maybe someone who is homebound, someone in a hospital, someone in an extended care facility. Like we just said, these books really, all ages literally could enjoy this book. This would be another great opportunity to satisfy that requirement. I'm sorry, Gina, go ahead.
No, it's fine. You just scooped what I was going to say. No, I like the part of Reading Merit Badge where it tasks scouts with, reading to somebody else, particularly maybe somebody who is not in a position to be able to read at the moment, or maybe permanently and not able to read. This might be a softball question, or maybe really hard. I don't know, Trudy, but if somebody was out there thinking like, I would like to take a book to like a retirement community and read to those folks, which book in the series do you think maybe has an ideal excerpt to read, or is there a chapter or something?
I would think the very first book in the series would be a really good one to do with the first chapter, because originally when National Geographic and I got together to do the series, they had me write a sample chapter to kind of see what ideas I had. And so that, all I knew was that I wanted to create, their parameters were create a school for kids that would travel the world and learn about some of the same things that the National Geographic explorers do. So I wrote the first chapter in the first book where Cruz almost gets into real big trouble when he's surfing and somebody is out to get him. And that's how I finished the chapter. Somebody was trying to get him. And I turned in the chapter, fingers crossed that they would want me to write the whole series, but I had no idea what would happen after that chapter. I just wrote it and they said, yes, go ahead for it. And then I had to sit down and go, okay, now I need to figure out what to do for the next 7 books. And why is Cruz in trouble? And, where do we go from here? Where does the adventure go from here? So that's a great place to start with chapter 1, book 1.
I think that we got to read that excerpt on our first
Yes.
episode of the live show.
I think we did.
Yeah, and it really is a suspenseful little read. So I think that that's a great place to start.
Boy, yeah, if you read that first chapter, book 1, chapter 1, you'll be hooked. It is a great sort of tease for the rest of that book. And like you said, Trudy, you already knew you were going to you had a story mapped out. It's a great tease for the whole thing. I want to expand on something that we've mentioned a few times here to make sure everybody's clear. The National Geographic Explorers, these are real people. That part is not fiction. There are real National Geographic explorers, scientists who are out literally, doing research, discovering, exploring the world literally. And Trudy, you got to work with them or talk to them, right? Can you tell us about what that was like and what you learned from them?
That's the most incredible part of it, is that when I first started doing the series, I just did the research on what the explorers were doing. I kind of like kept my distance. And I read their articles about them. I looked for their videos that they did. And I learned about what they were working on. So archaeologists and marine biologists and geologists, photographers and journalists. And I was able to try to look at some of their stories and weave in some of the things that they had done into the story so that the explorers could do the same thing. But as we went along and I got to meet some of the explorers, I would be bold enough to say, hey, could you tell me more about this expedition that you went on or this research that you're doing? And they were amazing in helping me kind of weave stories that, in fact, sometimes they're disappointed if I don't get in touch with them to see what they're doing and what they've been up to. So most of the expeditions that the explorers go on, so they go on like fossil hunts, they travel through Antarctica, they head to China, they go to Australia. Most of the missions that they do, they help right whales in the Bay of Fundy in Canada, are things that real National Geographic explorers have done. And that was the goal, was to bring in their stories and a little bit of their adventure into the plot lines too, and kind of weave all those together.
We've been lucky enough to get to feature some of those National Geographic explorers on our show. I think we've even had a couple on. I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. Incredible is exactly, what those people are. They're the best of the best. And they are also like very charismatic and they're well-spoken. So I think that anybody in our audience, scouts especially, would have an interest in just kind of checking out some of the videos of the National Geographic explorers. And then knowing that there is kind of it's obviously a fiction book. These people are not all going to an academy together, but I think it kind of gives you like the inside look or like inside feel, kind of insider knowledge as you are checking out the Explorer Academy series. True, do you know some of the other items that are featured on the Explorer Academy website?
Oh, yeah. So if you go to this website, you can watch some of the videos that the explorers have made. And they're really short videos. They're 2 to 3 minute videos, but it really gives you a good window into what they do, the research that they do, how they got involved in it. And then there's games to play. There's some really fun. There's a personality quiz you can take, which is kind of fun. I took the personality quiz and discovered that I am most like Emmett, which didn't surprise me at all because that's perfectly me. You can read excerpts from the book. There's interviews, teacher guides, reader guides. There's just lots of truth behind the fiction there. So you really get to know the explorers and what they do and what they're interested in. And one of the cool things that I learned in talking to the explorers is that most of them found their passion when they were kids. They found something they loved to do when they were kids. Most of them like being outdoors. They like exploring, hiking, backpacking, camping, skiing, outdoor sports. And they figured out a way to take what they loved to do as a kid and turn it into a job when they got older, which I think is really cool because that's what I did. I loved writing as a kid and now I get to do it.
Yeah.
I'm still hung up on the first thing you said. It was one of the more meta things that I think I've heard, that you created a character and then took a personality quiz to find out which character characters. And you were right in which one you thought you were most like.
I know. And the kids will ask me like, what's your favorite character? What one are you most like? And I'll be, that's so hard. How do you there's a piece of you in every character that you do. But when it's reflected back at you, then you really see the one that you have the most traits in common with. And it really doesn't surprise me that I was truly like Emmett, because I created Emmett to sort of be Cruz's conscience, to help him and guide him and, tell him, wait a minute, are you really sure about that decision? Which is exactly the kind of person I'm always, think before you leap. That's totally me.
That is awesome. It is kind of an ensemble cast of characters, if you will. The main character, so you said you're more like Emmett.
I think,
The main character is Cruz Coronado, who is 12 when the series starts. How much time has elapsed by the time book 7 comes around, Trudy?
So it's a year in their world, and he turns 13 in, I should know this, the second or third book, because November is his birthday. So everybody turns 13 in the book, and so it starts in September and then it ends in May, and then they go on their classroom break. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so the main character of Cruz, if you're Emmett, where did you get Cruz from? Who is Cruz like? Anybody we know? Anybody in your life?
He's kind of a composite of a lot of people that I know. Nobody in particular, but I wanted him to. I think the biggest trait that he has is probably one that I probably carried, which is why I probably did this for him, is that he doesn't like to ask for help. He always thinks he's the hero. He'll be the, he can win at every situation. He doesn't need anyone else. And this infuriates his friends because they're always pulling him out of the fire. And I think that's, that was a big trait for me too, is that it's hard for us to ask for help when we're doing something, or we think we can manage by ourselves. Things get a little too rough. And I wanted him to learn that lesson that, it's great to be your own hero, but sometimes a hero needs some loyal friends that help him out once in a while. So that was Cruz's biggest flaw.
Very interesting. Well, we are minutes away from asking you to read an excerpt from the book, which, just for our audience, a reminder that we have a portion of the, so we have a portion of the book that you can read online right now, and Trudy is going to read the section immediately following. So you want to stay tuned. I'm a little bit this is like a bittersweet episode for us, just slightly, because we love talking to you, Trudy. And this is
I love being here.
Yeah. So, can you give us any hint as to what's next? Hopefully there's more coming.
I can tell you that we are going to continue the Explorer Academy universe and do a spinoff with one of the characters. And so we'll be going into the second year of the Academy with that from that character's point of view, and then a whole new storyline for that character. And it's just really nice not to have to say goodbye to Chris and the gang. I think National Geographic knew it would be too heartbreaking for me to say goodbye. So they said, let's let her do a little bit more.
Well, that's good news. It makes me optimistic we'll get to have you on again, but hopefully you have or are about to take a little vacation so you can at least take a breather from all of your writing endeavors for a minute.
You would think, but not really. We're already starting on the next series. So we're already hard at work on making sure that because it takes a little while for us to put everything together and get it out. So we're already working on it, which is great for me, because it's nice to be able, it's a nice transition for me to go from one series to the next and still have those characters fresh in my mind and know where I want to take them. And yet do something totally new, which will be fun.
So again, book 7 out right now, the conclusion of the series. Trudy, before you read this excerpt for us, I wonder if you could share, you said you had the story mapped out. You said that it basically turned out in your mind the way you wanted to, with a few little detours here and there. How does it feel to be done with it? I'm sure it's bittersweet. Do you feel like you stuck the landing? Do you feel like, I wish I had book 8 now. I've got so many ideas. Of course, you do have another series, but I'm just, what are all the emotions going on?
No, that's a good question, because having written 7 books, it's a long series. And it's when I was wrapping everything up, you always want to make sure that you tie up all of those loose ends. And I remember saying to my editor, I want to need more pages. I want to need a little, so this book is a little bit longer. Not a ton longer, but it's a little bit longer, so that I could tie up all of those loose ends, because you don't want to leave anything hanging after 7 books. Yep. Yeah, it's bittersweet too, to say goodbye to the characters. But I also feel like I brought Cruz full circle, which is what I wanted to do. and also ended things with the other characters too, because you don't want to leave them hanging as well. So, Lonnie's story wraps up in Emmett's and Sailor's, and there's a few surprises for the explorers as the book winds down for their first year. So it's a nice place to be able to let them take that break, and then we come back with the second year and have a whole new adventure, a whole new set of adventures. So lots of surprises for the next series, because we got to amp it up a little, right? You got to make even more excitement, more adventure, and yet also grounded in science, and do all the things that the readers have come to love and want to see more of again.
Well, I think that our audience has been waiting for this moment. I know I have.
Okay.
We get a little sneak peek of book 7.
Okay, so this is book 7, and you have the excerpt is chapter 1, which I think came out in the August issue of Scout Life. So I'm going to start with chapter 2, and where chapter 1 ends is the explorers in a pretty precarious situation. They're inside their virtual training chamber, and you saw the picture of that. I think we showed that before, where they're at Easter Island. And so what happens at the end of that is they're doing a training mission. They're actually doing a geography bee, and they're finishing it up. And then all of a sudden, things start to go a little crazy in the virtual reality chamber. Hail starts to come down, and it really gets bigger. It gets huge. It's hitting them, and they can't control the weather inside the virtual. There's Brindis. They can't control the weather inside the virtual chamber. So that's kind of where it ends. Big hail is coming down, and they're calling the tech lab. Fanchon is in the tech lab. She's their tech lab chief, and they're trying to call her for help. So I'll start with chapter 2. Cruz saw a swish of blonde hair, then an arm. And before he could blink again, a missile of ice the size of a watermelon was smashing into the ground. It shattered into thousands of crystal shards. Brenda stood between Cruz and the broken hailstone. She whirled around, fists clenched and eyes blazing. You okay? Cruz managed a nod. Yeah, uh-huh. Nice spike, Brindis, crowed Dugan. Look out, warned Sailor. Dodging another melon of a hailstone, Brenda shoved Cruz back under the ledge with the others. That was crazy, said Cruz, his heart wildly thumping. But thanks. I know, Brindis pushed her hair out of her face, and you're welcome. Cruz, are you there? It was Fanchon on his comlink. Come in, what's going on? We're trapped in the cave, Cruz yelled above the drumming ice. The door won't open, and it's hailing ice bigger than cannonballs in here. Get to the control panel. Professor Modi is trying, but it's not working. Hang tight, said the tech lab chief. I'll see what I can do from here. Cruz glanced at the line of explorers under the rocky ledge. Quento had blood on his fingers. Zane was rubbing his elbow. Femi was leaning against Sailor, her foot raised. Emmett tugged on Cruz's sleeve. Something's wrong. Cruz gave him an annoyed look. You think? No, I mean really wrong. Emmett looked at Professor Modi. The emergency override should have kicked in, and this, he gestured to the supersized hail bombarding them, doesn't just happen. You mean Nebula, mouthed Emmett. But why? We're all here, including the spy. Exactly. 2 birds, 1 stone. Cruz saw Emmett's point. Cruz was one bird and Jaguar the other. If Nebula was in possession of the 7th cipher, it might feel it no longer needed an explorer agent, and there was only one way to make sure a spy never spilled any secrets. A shiver racked Cruz's spine. He figured now that Dr. Vanderwyck, aka Nebula Agent Zebra, was out of the picture. The ship was relatively safe. He should have known better. The cauldron of clouds was beginning to sink, flattening into a gray sheet. The hail was letting up, and in its place, lacy white tufts began to fall. Snow! Exclaimed Weatherly. I'll take snow over hail any day, said Dugan. That's probably what Fanchon thought too, surmised Cruz. The explorers gingerly stepped out from beneath the overhang. Quento showed Cruz a 3-inch scrape on the side of his hand, but it wasn't bleeding. Zane and Femi didn't seem to be seriously hurt either. Professor Modi, still next to the control panel, looked more at ease. He wasn't talking quite so fast over the comlink. Weird. Emmett had knelt. He sifted snow through his fingers. It's not cold. Everyone was slowly making their way down the gentle slope to the exit door, which was still closed. Dugan had his head back, trying to catch flakes on his tongue. Other explorers were doing the same. Some had stopped to take selfies with the moai, now wearing frosty white wigs. After the ear-splitting barrage of hail, Cruz was just glad for the peace. Brindis was beside him. Smart of Fanchon to turn the hail into snow. Oh, it's not snow, said Dugan. It's not? What is it? Dugan was too busy trying to get under a big flake to answer. Giving Brindis a what have we got to lose look, Cruz tilted his head back, too. He lined up his mouth with the biggest snowflake he could see drifting toward him. He felt softness on his tongue. Emmett was right. It wasn't cold at all. It was sweet. Through the flurry, Cruz caught Sailor's eye. Is this? Fairy floss, she snickered. We say candy floss in the UK, said Weatherly. Sugar thread, chimed Mateo. Ghost breath, said Quento, earning a chorus of, oh. Sailor twirled. Who cares what you call it? Just catch it. The cave went silent as 24 explorers tried to snag as many cotton candy flakes as possible before the weather changed.
That gives you a great taste of, what the story is about, how the writing is great for kids and adults. A little bit of science fiction there.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Trudy. Most of that took place in like a simulation.
Right.
So
Right.
that's just really cool. They have this simulator where they go in to do training like that. Very, very cool. Daniel, a nice compliment we got from Daniel, who says, bravo. I agree, Trudy. Trudy might be done with the Explorer Academy series. We're not done with Trudy. We're going to have her back here in another year or so, whenever it is, Trudy, whenever the next spin-off book comes out. We appreciate so much you being here as usual.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to chat with you and to meet the scouts and just, be here with you and sharing about Explorer Academy. Thank you so much for having me.
I think you're muted. We can't hear you. Hold on. Here we go. Hold on.
Everyone check out the Explorer Academy series. We've been flashing up some URLs on the bottom of the screen, different places you can purchase the book, but head to amazon.com/Explorer Academy and prime that book to you. You could have it in just a couple days. Everybody watching, if you haven't checked out the series, check it out. You can read in the comments and see folks who are saying what a great book it is and how their kids love it, nephews love it. That should be the testament you need to just check it out.
Christmas
Trudy
is right around the corner, everybody. I'm just saying.
And like we said, it pairs really well with the Reading Merit Badge if you're looking for some stories to read.
And it is Scout Life approved. Again, just so you know, we wouldn't run in Scout Life if it wasn't appropriate for families and kids of all ages.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not going to treat it as bittersweet. It's okay because I'm sure we're going to see you again to talk about.
I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. We'll see everybody next time. We'll be back next Tuesday and we will be back Friday for Cub Chat Live. So until then.
Thank you, Trudy. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
My dearest Cruz, if you are reading this, it means I am not with you, and for that I am deeply sorry.
National Geographic presents
You are the only one I can entrust with this difficult mission.
a book series for young readers.
Find my journal. Love, Mom.
Explorer Academy. The Academy is no ordinary school. For more than a century, it has trained aspiring adventurers to explore our world and protect its treasures. Now, adventure, danger, and a thrilling global mission await 12-year-old Cruz Coronado as he follows in his mother's footsteps at the Academy. But before he can uncover her legacy, Cruz discovers a startling conspiracy, making him the target of a mysterious organization. Why was he chosen? What really happened to his mother? Who is out to get him and why? It all leads back to Explorer Academy. Look for the Explorer Academy series wherever books are sold.